best things I did is just be in a room with people that were better than me and continue to try to be around, because they lead by example, and I just mimic what they do, and understood. I've learned over the years that it's not motivation, it's discipline. I'm still learning. I mean, I'm probably in my prime of learning about this as I'm really challenging myself, but it is discipline. Having people in your corner, having people to lean on, having people to call up and say, hey man, I just ain't feel good about this right now. So important. Support is everything in real estate.
Welcome to the Jeff Sutherland Show. Let's grow today as we learn from decades of real estate and leadership experience.
We want you to know that when you log into this show, you're going to get authentic conversation. We're going to give it to you straight, and it's going to be real. Hey everybody, this is Jeff Sutherland. We're on the Jeff Sutherland Show. I have two of my best buds with me today. I got Chase Waldron and Joshua Riddle. And today our guest is Joshua, and this guy's an amazing guy, man. I just can't wait. You know, we're bringing winners on the show, Chase. In fact, didn't your fiance just get you a shirt recently that said winner on the front?
Yeah, she heard us talking all the time about winners only, so she got me a black and white shirt that says winners on it. It's my favorite shirt. I can't take it off, so it's good.
Yeah,
Represent.
Yeah, you got to wear it on the podcast, bro. You got to get it on here. So today we got Joshua Riddle, and he's out of Gilbert, Arizona. A great husband, a great father, a great friend to many people. He leads with his whole heart. And honestly, that's what I saw about him when I first met him. I just saw a guy that was all heart. He was passionate. I love that about him. Like, and you always know where he stands. You ever met somebody like you always know they wear their thoughts on their sleeves? I'm kind of that way. So I kind of like that about Josh. But, you know, the guy's got so many cool things in his life. He's got a great family. He's a cold plunger. I want to talk about that today. He's a killer pickleball player. He wears red shoes at his closings. The guy's a unique dude, right, Chase?
Yeah, no doubt, man. 1 in a million.
So first question, Josh, as we get to know you, I mean, we love to hear your story. I've known you now for like 7 years, something like that. Time sure flies, and I've enjoyed our journey with each other. And so tell us about your story, and we want to get to know you better today, Josh.
Oh man, what can I say? I mean, that was quite the intro. I appreciate it. There's a lot of times I jump on something like this. I'm the one asking the questions, so it is a nice spin to be asked some questions. Because I've been through a lot in my life, and I'm someone that loves to learn as much as I can from people. But I feel I have a few things I like to share, mindsets and stuff like that I think can impact people. So just kind of growing up. I've always been someone that kind of defends people, protects people, call that middle child syndrome. I don't know what you want to call it, but I never liked bullies. I was always kind of the anti-bully. I always tried to take care of the people that couldn't take care of themselves. That's just something I look back on myself and realize that was something that was pretty consistent with some of the things I did growing up. And, like anybody in their 20s, bounced around job to job. I graduated at University of Phoenix with a bachelor's in business. While I was going to school, I ran a window tint program for a couple of dealerships. So I learned what it was like to work autonomously and no boss and kind of control my hours, and also learned what it was like to be paid for the work that you did and not the time it took you to do. And that always seemed to kind of resonate with me. I was like, I don't want to be someone that clocks in and works a 9 to 5. I want to be somebody that the more effort I put into something, the better the results are. And so, but then the market crashed, so the tint went away, and I got into the corporate world and actually succeeded in that world as well. I started out as an enrollment advisor at University of Phoenix, was there for about 4.5 years, became a team lead and an enrollment and a senior advisor in my first 6 months. And as a team lead, I was forced to basically run weekly team meetings with other advisors that had been there longer than I had been, and that were older than I was. And I can say that I look back on that experience as completely creating the way that I like to lead people, or the way that I like to create an environment where people can learn, if you would say. I don't even like to say lead. I just like to create certain environments where people can be better. And that was created at University of Phoenix. I learned a lot from that, and then realized I kind of hit the glass ceiling there. Again, there really wasn't much room for growth. And then I found myself into a recruiting position, was recruited into a recruiting position from there. And there were parts of that job I liked. There was no glass ceiling, so it was a job where the harder you worked, the more money you made. It was a little bit tough calling people at their jobs and trying to steal them for another job. That, I'm an ethics guy, ethical guy of integrity. I found arguments to justify it, and again, these people were smart enough and they thought it was a better opportunity. I can understand why. So did decent at that, and but didn't love it. And then, believe it or not, I had a buddy who was starting a real estate team. I'll be forever grateful. I'll drop his name, Joe Troppel. And he called me up and said, "Hey, I'm starting a real estate team. I think you'd be good." And I was 30 years old. I hated my job. And I told myself I'm either going to knock my boss out today or I'm going to start real estate school. I remember telling myself that. And I thought, all right, let's get real estate school is a lot better than the cops. Let's go ahead and go that direction. And so I started real estate school and fell in love.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what'd you love about it? I mean, and how's it different from corporate America?
Well, a lot of reasons. One, first of all, freedom in a way. Autonomous environments always seem to fit me better. I have managers and bosses in the past that have had very good impacts on my life, but I would say the majority of my experiences having a manager boss didn't work for me. They ruled with ways that I just felt was disrespectful or trying to be intimidating. And, for me, I treat everybody the same. I don't care if you're my boss or what. We're all human beings. We should deserve respect and treat each other with respect. And so anytime I found myself in those environments, I would get not happy, for lack of a better phrase, and so I jumped into real estate. I was blessed to grow up in the East Valley for 37 years now, and a lot of random hobbies and great friends I grew out the way. So when I hit real estate, I kind of hit the ground running. I was able to sell 8 homes in my first 6 months, and the pay was great. Not gonna lie, those first commission checks I shook. I remember my first commission check was $5,200. Keep in mind, my biggest check before that was probably, $2,000, and that was when I was window tinting great. $5,200. I'm shaking, and I remember my mentor Joe goes, "You just wait, and he was right. So the pay is fantastic. There's an opportunity to do well, but also the fact that I'm a people person. I love building relationships and kind of talking about that background of just protecting people. I want to protect people. I don't want anyone to be taken advantage of. I don't want anyone to be, convinced by a smooth talking salesman with a crazy over-promising pitch. I believe, home ownership. My grandfather kind of had some big moves in real estate growing up. Wasn't the most educated man, was a World War II veteran, but he got into real estate. It had a big impact on our family. I understood the value of real estate. I was luckily, and I always say luckily, on the both sides of timing the market right in real estate. So I understood how valuable it is to people, and was passionate about just owning a home and people owning a home, but then also protecting people, defending people. And full transparency, I enjoy conflict. Yeah, I like to fight. I like to challenge people. I like to compete. And if I can compete for my client's sake, defend their honor, if you will, and get paid doing that, and then have no boss and be able to do that, then man, sign me up. And that's how I found real estate. And those are some of the bigger things that I fell in love with early in real estate.
And that must be why I've always been kind of a little afraid of you. Anyway, but so Joshua, you're a protector of people, but you're also a protector of a culture and an environment. And that's another thing that's so good about you is tell us about this this organization that you came up with that's that we're all with and trying to make better every day. And tell us just about that and how you came up with it and what it's about and why people love it so much.
It's a fantastic question. Anyone that's seen my videos know that I always say proud co-founder of Collaborative Realty Group before anything I say. On like 99.9% of my videos, I actually think I shot one today that did not say it. I was actually surprised, but it's something I'm very proud of. It goes into my journey into real estate. I mentioned very appreciative of my friend bringing me into the business, but quickly realized that the team environment just really wasn't for me for a number of reasons. I felt that the majority of the business came from the people that I knew, the relationships that I had. And again, very thankful to be pulled into the industry by my buddy and his team. I didn't feel like what I was paying that team was really worth it. full transparency. And I had negotiated down a number of times from a 60-40 to a 70-30 to an 80-20, even to a 90-10, and still just didn't feel right about it because I felt like I was doing 99.9% of the work, right? And, out of loyalty, I told my buddy, I said, hey, I'll give you 5% forever. And he goes, do you just want to leave the team? I said, I think I do. And so I left. Again, thankful to him. We're good friends now. But I left. And I went solo, and I got lonely. I was able to do a transaction here and there, right? And average about one a month, which was good. But no one ever helped me in the downtime. No one taught me how to scale up my business or gave me ideas how to build my business. Sure, I knew how to buy a home, and I knew that process. And sure, I knew how to sell a home. I knew the process, what I thought I knew the process. What I'm doing now is completely different than what I used to do. But I had no one teaching me. And something told me, you need to go network with realtors. So I'll never forget it. I went to one of those invites that you get, box seats at a Diamondbacks game, all alone, not knowing anybody, and just hung out and started shaking hands. And one of the guys was a recruiter for my home group, and invited me to a golf tournament. Went to this golf tournament, met a team at my home group on the tee in front of us, and joined that team. And all I said was, I don't need your leads. I don't need your systems. I just want to be around people. I just want to be in an environment of other people that do what I do so that I can learn from them, whether that be, and I thought it was from the team lead. I thought you, the leaders of this team, you're a lot more, they had 30 people on the team, so they're a little bit more functional as a team. So that's what I thought. Like, hey, I'm going to join your team, and I'll pay you if you teach me. That was kind of the mindset there. Joined the team and was there about 9 months, and had nothing wrong with the team leads, good guys. But what I quickly realized, what I was learning more from the other agents on that team than I was from the people running the team. And let's be fair, the people that run the team, they were on a whole nother level of production than I was. They were on a whole nother level of their business than we were. So we couldn't really have the same conversation, a little bit different. They were much more established than we were. I was working with other agents that were building their business, and it takes time. And going through the same learning pains and growing pains that I was, there's comfort there, right? When people go through stuff together, you grow together. And so there was no this kind of hierarchy of we're better than who. We're just like, hey, man, we're just agents trying to be the best, and let's just hang out. So that's how it started to form within the team, and everything was good. And then again, there's weird because looking back on this story, I noticed signs. I noticed very distinct moments, whoever, Lord or whoever you want to talk about, God pointing me in a certain direction. But I remember being on this team, not paying them anything to be on their team because I didn't want to take anything. I had negotiated to zero. And I said, listen, I'll just bring culture and environment, and you guys can just give me a place to sit. And that was the deal. I sit down one day next to Clark, and this lady comes in and she hands a paper to Clark. It has a triangle on the top of it. I'll never forget it. And I go, what's that? And he goes, oh, that's this training I'm going to. And it's called Operation Catapult. And I'm like, well, what's that? He's like, well, the team leads decided that this is good for all of us to go. And I was spiteful. And I was like offended that I wasn't paid for or heard about this opportunity. And then Clark looks at me and goes, Josh, you don't pay him anything. And I said, that's a good point. I said, but I was still offended for some reason. It still sounded good for some reason. I don't put a ton of money in my business at this point outside of closing gifts. And this class was $200, and if I remember correctly, $222. This was 7 years ago. $220. And I remember talking to my wife and going, something's telling me I need to go to this $222 class. Wow, that's a lot of money. I go, I know. Something's telling me. So signed up. Hence I met Jeff. And I was very quiet during these trainings. I just like to sit back and listen. I don't like to really talk much if I don't have anything that I think is worth saying. And I listened, and I, full transparency, took two things that Jeff told me to do seriously. The first was writing note cards, personal cards. One of the biggest things I've ever done for my business. I can tell you exactly, it doubled my business. It took me from 65K to over 100K in 1 year. First time I ever broke 100, I cried. but I didn't meet my goal. So I was forced to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I couldn't eat meat for 1 year other than seafood. So that was my punishment for not meeting my goal with Jeff, was something I had to commit to that was going to be very difficult. And that's what I did. I did not eat meat for a year after that, which forced me to grow in a lot of different ways, and was very proud of that. First thing I ate a year later was chicken wings and something with bacon. But Jeff had instant credibility with me because he was the first person I'd been around that gave me something of true value. And again, keep in mind, I did a tenth of what he told me to do, but I did it and I saw an impact. And so Jeff instantly was like, all right, this guy's got credibility in my book. He has given me something that is directly impacting my business. And that's a first for me from someone other than just some like Clark and Justin at the time. So all was well. And then here comes, a few months later, we stay in contact, and Jeff's, I got this mind blowing, game changing, life changing, and I'm like, just tell me what's up. He's like, there's this brokerage I think you should hear about. I'm like, dude, I just joined my home group 9 months ago. Appreciate it. But I'm good. Well, as persistent as this man is that we all know, he just said, I want to watch a video. Just watch a video. I didn't. Finally he said, okay, come in and just meet with my partner, Curtis. Just have a conversation. See if it rings any bells. I said, if it'll shut you up, we'll do it. And he's like, deal. So me and Clark went in and met with Jeff and Curtis, heard about EXP. And I mean, almost instantly I was blown away. I was blown away because one of the biggest things I missed from the corporate world getting into real estate was benefits. Missed benefits. So like, okay, I'm gonna have to take care of everything myself. That's fine. Buy houses, whatever, retirement, whatever. I'll figure it out. Oh wait, there's a brokerage that offers very similar benefits from a corporate company. That's amazing. That's not been seen before, because usually brokerages are trying to just be the cheapest and offer the less value. Hey, we're cheaper. And what I've learned about people that chase cheap, they're always going to chase cheap. So I wanted something that was valuable, something that I didn't want a broker hop either. Something where I could put my hooks in and be like, I want to build a business here forever. And when I heard about EXP with Jeff and Curtis, I fell in love with it. I know this is a long story, so I apologize. But it's important. Fell in love with it. Prayed Clark was equally as impressed. He was. Took it to Justin. Justin was on board. Awesome. We're going to go to EXP. Wait a minute. Let's take it to the team. Let's give the team leads an opportunity to jump on with us. Okay, let's do it. So Clark and Justin and I introduced it to the team leads, and they actually fell in love with it too. And we said, listen, you guys can leave. We'll be your managers. We'll manage the office. If you can just put us below you guys and put the rest of the agents below us, we're talking about 30 agents here. Hell of a start. We'll manage them. We'll train them. We'll figure it out. It was perfect. It was so well set up. Curtis was in on it. Jeff was in on it. It took us 3 months to roll this out to the team that we were on. And of the 32 agents, it seemed like 29 were coming with us. And at the last minute, I'm talking 11th hour, majority of ICAs are signed. I mean, it's all we need to do is sever and hang. And the leader of the team took a very small buyout. And he took a buyout of about $500 a month, if I remember correctly, from the brokerage. And then they handed Clark and I an offer proposition to stay on the team, and I felt very insulted by it. I didn't like a damn word on that piece of paper that I had in front of me, right? To the point where I wrote "never forget," and it's still hanging up in my home office to be like, this is what someone thought you were worth. And they took me and Clark separately and told us separately. Trying to split us up. We were pretty close, Clark and I. Still are, 6 years later, 7 years later. We argue sometimes, but that's what good friends do. And they tried to split us up. I didn't like that either. And again, Clark, they talked to me first, probably knew I was gone. Tried to convince Clark to stay. Clark comes out and out of the room, and he's pissed too, which I was very happy to see. And pardon my French, I'm not going to say it, but I said, what do we do? And Clark looks at me with his PGA pro mind, and he says, We need to think and then react. And I said, we need to start our own effing team. And I just remember him going like that, gave me this little nod, and we pulled a little Jerry Maguire. I said, listen, they're staying, we're going. And I don't know what it's going to be, but we have an idea for a group that can help each other grow and be great realtors. And we don't know what it's going to be called, but we're still going. Anybody interested, please meet us at Kabuki at Tempe Marketplace, 7 p.m. I'll give you a pitch. And Clark, Justin, myself, and 4 other agents showed up. I gave them a little pitch. I remember, and I even paid for everybody's dinner. I just $280. I'm like, I'll pay for it. Like, this is just something I got to do. Of the 7 agents that showed up to dinner, 6 signed up the next day. 1 signed up 6 months later, or about a year later, so he came on too. But 6 came on. 6 trusted us. And Collaborative Realty Group was born out of all that. And the premise of Collaborative Realty Group is just an environment for agents to be comfortable, to grow together, learn together, challenge each other, train each other. Whatever you can do to be the best for your clients, that's our goal.
Well, that was a lot of good stuff, man, that you dropped right there. And one being not eating meat for a whole year. That has got to be a painful price to pay. But anyways, just talking through CRG, man, I know me personally coming onto the team last year, that was a huge draw for me, just being able to access a team of people that are doing business, that are training every week, but it's not a regular team dynamic to where you're paying for leads and things like that. You're able to access people that are doing a lot of things and they're sharing what's working for them. So I know that was a huge draw for me and a lot of other people. So that's an awesome opportunity, and I'm grateful for that team. One other thing you mentioned earlier, man, that I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper on was you were talking about how all of the benefits of getting into real estate versus the corporate world, not having your own boss, right? A lot of things obviously come with that. You don't have somebody breathing down your neck to get anything done, right? You have to be self-motivated, self-driven to get out there and get things done. So what are some things that you would share with people that has kind of helped you do that, right? Because some people, it seems like they struggle with that. They can't hold themselves accountable to get the things done that they need to do if they don't have a boss kind of breathing down their neck. So what are some of the things that you have done, through your almost 10 years in the business that has kind of helped you with that?
I would say one of the biggest things I did was start this group because when you have anybody that leans on you, you have to be better. And, I've always believed that you have to walk the walk before you can talk the talk. And I never jumped into Collaborative Realty Group wanting to be like a true leader. I thought there was a great gap between agents that only had an option of either being solo or being on a team. I found a gap, and we filled that gap with Collaborative Realty Group. And then just learning that it's always a growing process, and surrounding yourself with people that are also trying to grow, right? One of the best things I did is just be in a room with people that were better than me and continue to try to be around because they lead by example. And I just mimic what they do and understood. I've learned over the years that it's not motivation, it's discipline. I'm still learning. I mean, I'm probably in my prime of learning about this as I'm really challenging myself, but it is discipline. Having people in your corner, having people to lean on, having people to call up and say, hey man, I just ain't feeling good about this right now. So important. Support is everything in real estate. I could not imagine doing this job alone. I could not imagine, first of all, I wouldn't be anywhere near like what the impact that we're having is unbelievable, and it was not expected. It really wasn't, but it's amazing and I love it. But doing it alone, it would be such a different job for me. It would be such a different job for me. It would be I don't think I'd like it as much, honestly, because how do I judge my growth? How do I just by numbers? But who's teaching me?
Right.
And what does success look like? I know people, and I've seen people do 55 deals solo in a year. And guess what? They did not want to do that again. So trying to understand what success looks like in this business only comes from being around people that are extremely successful in this business and learning from them. And I can say just knowing Jeff and Curtis, and what I loved about EXP was everybody in the brokerage wants you to do well. That's an amazing experience. That's something EXP is very well known for now. And keep in mind, I'm hitting my 10th year. I was only 3 years into real estate when I joined EXP. So I've spent 70% of my career at this brokerage. And I can easily tell you that the growth has been unbelievable, and it's due to the support that I have. Also, the benefits of working just a little extra harder on other things. That, trust me, when I told agents about it, they said, that's not going to work. EXP is not going to survive. And I thought I'd rather jump on this ship and sink with it than miss it and watch it fly. And trust me, it was the best decision I've ever made. Outside of getting into real estate was jumping into EXP, surrounding myself with people like Jeff and Curtis and James and other people that just do it well, learning from other agents and just being coachable, being humble, and knowing that I need to put in the work. And I used to think even as far back as 2 years ago, I used to think that I was at the mercy of the market. And Jeff used to drive me nuts when he said the market was between your ears. He used to drive me nuts when I heard that. I'm like, no, it is. And then I'm realizing now, as I've adjusted big things in my business and approached my business in a different way, that success can be predictable based on action. And if I'm committing action and creating systems, then I should be able to predict my success. And that's only come in the last 18, probably really less than that, probably a year. A little bit over that. A lot of it has been market. A lot of it is just network and understanding my network. I started doing client appreciation events 3 years ago. Committed to doing 3 a year. Did that 3 years ago. I'm on my 3rd year, and I'm just starting to see some benefits come from that too. Right. So just understanding the business, understanding that it's a system, and that the more action and the more things that you do, the better the result you'll see.
Yeah, and real quick, Jeff, just one other thing. When you had mentioned talking about EXP and everybody wanting you to win, they want you to succeed. I remember, EXP is the only brokerage I've ever been to, but I remember you saying early on when I started that some of the other brokerages you have been to, you'd walk into the office and they'd cover up the screen because they didn't want you to see what they were doing. Just talk a little bit about that, man. I remember thinking that was kind of interesting and funny because I obviously haven't experienced that myself, but it sounds like it was pretty drastically different.
It was, and I think that experience was also a big experience that I take with me on the type of culture that we've created for CRG, a culture of just like sharing, right? Just understanding that no one in here is a threat to my business. There's 40,000 realtors in Arizona, all right? If we're impacting each other on overlapping on one deal or two, may the best man win, right? But when I got into real estate, it was very competitive. It was very very hush hush. I was walking through the office, and you would notice people kind of leaning over, like, "What am I going to steal your Canva design? What am I going to take your PDF? What am I going to take your open house design? Like, what is this?" But that's what I thought it was, man. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was just, hey, you and me are the enemy. We're in the same business. We're competing. We're fighting over the same bone. And again, me being competitive, me being comfortable with conflict, if you will. Okay, game on, let's play. But then as I learned more about the business, and again, when you're new, you don't know. I was blessed to broker hop a little bit before I found EXP because I would always wonder. You would always wonder a little bit, but being with other brokerages and other environments, I understood what they were like. And then jumping to EXP and then having the blessing to create our own environment of what I feel would be a very comfortable, productive real estate environment for agents to be better was the biggest blessing. So I took that specific experience along with me. I think a lot about that. When I think about when we run meetings, which we've run meetings every single Monday since before COVID. I'm very proud of that. We're very, very honest with each other, and we're very transparent with each other. And if you have a good photographer, you have a good videographer, you have a good cleaner, you have a good stager, you share it. Why? Because we're all better for it. And that's been the goal. Good question.
I mean, case in point, that $2.75 million listing I had, that was Joshua's stager that I used. It was his contact, and she did an amazing job. you know what's happened last year? I've seen you completely have a metamorphosis when it comes to your leadership. I've seen it firsthand. You went from not reading any books to setting these huge goals to read as many books as you could get your hands on. Your marketing is so creative out in the real estate world. I want you to hit on a little bit of these, Josh.
Okay.
And then you're also really in tune with the programs that are being offered to buyers and sellers that your mainstream real estate agents just don't know about. And these programs, you have helped your clients get homes because you're more knowledgeable about them than anyone else. So, I mean, you've totally transformed your leadership. And my last question on that is what got you to do that? What was like the defining moment? You were like, you know what, man, I'm going for it. I'm stepping it up, because you've completely changed since I first knew you.
I'd love to take the credit. I can't. It actually, the defining moment was my wife. Typical guy coming home and watching sports, and we love sports and listen to sports radio. That's great. All right. That's a nice little break. But I remember her one day saying, what do you do for yourself? And I try to work out and exercise, and I was all offended. I was offended. I was like, what do you mean? What do I do for myself? I'm like, I work out. I run a window tint side business for friends and family. I run CRG. I run a real estate business. She's like, yeah, but like, do you mentally ever challenge yourself? And I was like, okay, go on. And she's like, do you listen to anything other than sports radio? And I said, no. Right. And she goes, okay, well, maybe try some other stuff. And so she actually introduced me to podcasts. And so 2 years ago, I kind of started listening to podcasts. I'd throw a little Rogan in there, and I'd throw a little Andrew Huberman in there, and some other offside people. But like one specific, Joe Rogan's pretty funny, has some interesting guests on. Andrew Huberman's all about science of diet and health and all amazing things. And just listening to those, you literally feel like your brain's getting a workout. Like, it's crazy. Like, again, like Jeff said, before a year and a half ago, I read 5 books in my life, and 3 of them were Goosebumps. Right. So I was not a reader. I didn't believe in reading. I didn't understand why people loved reading. And honestly, I can't even call myself a reader because I do Audible. And for some of you hardcore readers out there, I won't call myself a reader. You flexing on that. Okay. I listen to books. I absorb books. I consume books, whatever you want to call it. But it started with my wife. My wife challenged me mentally, started doing podcasts, some good ones, some funny ones, and then leaned into, hey, like, listen, why don't I try a book? I need a good book. I heard Ninja Selling was a good real estate book. I thought, you know what? If you can listen to 15 minutes a day, you could probably do a book a month. And it was crazy to pick Ninja Selling of all the books, because one of the very first things you hear in Ninja Selling, another sign, is you are the same person you are a year from now minus 2 things: the people you meet and the books you read. That's the first thing I hear in the first book that I listen to. And I was like, all right, Lord, I got you. I'm hearing it. I'm feeling it. And so that was the start of it. And the goal was 12 books in 12 months. And I ended up listening to 17, and just felt the difference, felt that I could speak different, just had great knowledge that came up at weird times, right? Like, all of a sudden someone says something and it triggers something you heard in a book that's relative. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, actually, you know what? I heard that if you try this and do this, and they're like, oh, that's a really good point. I'm like, thanks. And then you feel weird. You're like, is that my knowledge? Is that the book's knowledge? Who gets the credit here? Not that I want it, but for the first 6 months, I kept saying, well, I read a book that. And then I talked to my wife, and I was like, is this my knowledge now? Is it like, that was what was interesting, but it was fascinating to hear that sign, to beat that goal. And I'm not a big goal person. I'm more of a system person. But then also to see the impact it had on the group. I feel it had a big impact on our group. I feel I was coming in on our Monday meetings with better content.
Yep.
I felt like I was coming in with stuff that was more relative to people. I thought it was just good stuff. And so, again, another value of being part of a group. And this is a group that I learn as much as I lead. But on Mondays, I lead. And I just wanted to be better for them, and books for doing that for me. Plus, I'm blessed to be in a business where things that you read, you can directly put into play and see the results. And that was a big part of it too, was also, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, and I started to put it into my business, and then you see your business start to become this just better system. And that gets a little addicting too.
Yeah, that's great, man. You got to pass on those good nuggets, man, that you're reading, and everybody benefits from them.
We got to do it.
So you're big into cold plunging too, man. Let's talk a little bit about that. How did you hear about cold plunging? How often do you do it? Is it an everyday thing? Did you get that from one of the podcasts? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no. So a little bit of everything, actually. I hate the cold, like most people, and just learning about, I heard on a podcast with actually Rogan and Huberman talking about a lot of benefits of cold plunging. I was a big Monster drinker. I was a big caffeine guy years ago. Monster, Dr. Pepper, very, very intense pre-workout supplements in my 20s. So I developed a sensitivity to caffeine. So I had to quit caffeine. And it's hard to get a boost sometimes. You need a boost, and then I'm in my 40s, and I hear testosterone starts to dip in the 40s, right? So true that. And I don't want a needle in my ass every day for a testosterone shot. So I was looking for natural remedies. I was looking for natural things that can help the old testosterone stay and boost. And cold plunging came up. It came up, and that was just one of the many benefits. Was the spike of dopamine, the testosterone benefits, the endorphin benefits, not only all those physical, measurable benefits that you get from cold plunging, but also the mental benefits. I hate it every time I'm about to jump in that tub. I wake up with anxiety every morning. I've committed to cold plunging. And because it sucks. So bad. Sure. There's never a time that you want to get in 45-degree water. There's just never a time that sounds good. Even coming out of a sauna, you don't want to get in 45-degree water. And so just understanding that, embracing the suck, the return on investment is 4 minutes. You can do anything for 4 minutes. Anybody can do anything for 4 minutes, right? A lot of people do 3. Some people do 2. The goal is at least three times a week, at least 11 minutes total to receive some of the metabolic benefits. But you start to get the everyday boost, becomes a daily thing. So it became a 4-minute song every time. You hate it every time. You embrace it and you get after it. And then when you're out 4 minutes later, you feel amazing. So there's a lot of mental benefits and physical benefits that comes from cold plunging, and you feel good afterwards. You feel like $1 million. And I have been in a lot of accidents, broken a lot of bones growing up, a lot of concussions and stuff like that. So this whole body hurts, and throwing it in cold water, seems to give it a little new juice. So there's just a lot of really cool benefits there. But it's kind of funny because they are equally mental and physical for me. And then I just love talking to, having random hobbies with people. It gives you something to talk about with other cold plungers, right? So sure. There's a benefit there too. So yeah, very good question. Do I do it every day? Honestly, I don't. There was a time I did. I think there was a time in the first 9 months when I got my chiller, because the first year was just during the winter in the pool. Summer was off. Second year, winter in the pool. And then it became warm again. And then my buddy found a chiller for me. I bought a chiller, and that became an everyday thing. And I've been doing it every day, and then I've probably, kind of here and there a couple times a week the last month or two. And it's actually taught me a lot about committing to something every day versus allowing yourself to take breaks. It's actually easier to commit to something every single day than it is to pick each day that you do or do not do it. So it continuously teaches you things when you do something extremely hard. And so that's why I love so much about cold plunging. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I think, when you're talking about the mental aspect of it, right, it's the fact that, hey, you don't like doing it every single day. And you got to force yourself and tell yourself, hey, I'm getting in here either way. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to talk myself out of it. I know I made a commitment and I'm hopping in either way. And then you reap the benefits after. But it's that initial, you getting your butt in there. And then when you run into other hard things throughout the day, you do use that same tactic, man. You know what I mean? You tell yourself, hey, listen, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I don't want to make this phone call. Maybe I don't want to knock on this door. but I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm going to reap the benefits after, because I know that I'm either, even if it doesn't work out, I'm going to feel better about not wimping out. I'm going to do it, or, obviously there's going to be a good benefit out of it. So, yeah, that's a lot of good info, man. It's not easy for sure.
It actually reminds me of one last story about that is something I really, really like. I've heard a couple times, and it's the difference between a cow and a buffalo. Now, I'm not perfect at this. I'm not perfect in this when it comes to cold plunge, because you do have to fight yourself. But have you ever heard the story of the cow and the buffalo?
No, I don't think so. No.
Jeff, you know this story?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
Okay, so basically, the cow and buffalo both have a very unique sense of sensing storms coming in, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
And the cow and the buffalo can sense when a storm is rolling over the hills that it's coming in. But the difference between the cow and the buffalo are two very different things. When the storm is rolling in, let's just say it's rolling in from the east, right? What does the cow do? The cow runs west. And that storm catches up to the cow. And while the cow's running with the storm, that storm stays over that cow a lot longer than is necessary. Where what does the buffalo do? The buffalo heads right into that storm, runs dead into it. And so if you're running right into the storm, guess what happens? Passes you a lot faster. That's something I've been working on too. I love that mentality of just like, hey, listen, you can be a cow or a buffalo. You're going to have to go through this. Why not just hit it now versus sit there and torture yourself for X number of days, hours, minutes, whatever. And so that's kind of my new mentality when approaching the suck. Now, again, I'll sit there and I'll stare at that cold plunge with a towel around my waist for 10 minutes. I'm just hating it. So I'm not a buffalo all the time, but it's the goal.
Working the way to the buffalo.
Let's go.
Yeah. We choose our hard, right? We choose our hard means it's difficult doing cold plunging. It's difficult working out every day. It's difficult making your phone calls, but it also is difficult being obese.
Yep.
It's difficult having disease. That's all hard. So we choose our hard every day, right? And it kind of does remind me of a scripture in Psalm 23. As I walk through the valleys of the shadow of death, right? The Lord said, we're walking through the valley. We're not walking in the valley and hanging out in the valley. You will go through the valleys, but you have to keep moving forward, right? And like that buffalo. And that's what we're all trying to do in life, right? And I think in real estate, if we choose the hard and the stuff that most people are not willing to do, what does Dave Ramsey say? If you live like no one else, someday you'll live like no one else,
Yeah.
And so right now we work hard. And that's kind of a segue into my next question, Josh, is that you're also a good family man. So you want to be the best real estate agent you can be. You're trying to win out there in the world of being an agent. You truly are winning, but you're also winning at home. So how do you balance being a great father, and a husband with this career? Because this career can be very demanding, right?
Whew, it is a demanding career. Not as demanding as fatherhood, though, right? And that's the biggest blessing in the world. I have a stepdaughter who's 16. She introduced me to fatherhood early, which really helped, and she's amazing. And then lucky enough to have my boy who's 5 and my daughter who's 3 now. They're first. They're always first, right? I've been through some pretty big adversity in my life. So I believe you choose how you let things affect you. And I'm not always perfect, but I don't bring my business home in the negative way. I could have some really rough days, but being an eternal optimist, when I see something bad, I find the silver lining. I find the lesson, right? I find, okay, this sucks. What am I learning from this? And so I don't go home. It can always be worse, right? So I don't let the negative days at work come home with me. That's a big part of it. And when something bad happens, we're fixers. That's what realtors are. We're problem solvers. So if I can't solve my own problems, how am I going to solve anyone else's? So I have to not let the hard parts of work come back home with me. That's a big one. And what the blessing of the job is, I don't get to this office till 9:30 or 10 a.m. every day. Now, you badass realtors out there probably already done with half your business that time, right? And more on you. You're a 7 to 10 guy. Good, go crush it, right? Until my kids don't want me to make them breakfast, until my kids don't want me to read them a book in the morning, until my kids don't love me and call me their best friend and beg for me not to lose, I'm not getting my ass here really any earlier than that, because I don't get my little babies that age very long. And I can work forever. And so, it's this is time you don't get back. And this is a very impressionable time on them. And as someone who's laid under a tree after a motorcycle accident, 100% convinced he's going to die, I know not every day is guaranteed. And so, they're the priority, man. They are the priority. I get home at 4. If I need to show homes, we go show homes. If I have to have a long day, I have a long day, right? But for the most part, I'm at the office at 9:30 and I'm at home at 4, and that gives me a couple hours in the morning with them and a couple hours at night with them. And there's nothing more valuable in the world than that. So I've managed to I've thankfully kept that in mind while building this business, so that I'm able to keep it at a balance I'm pretty happy about.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about this business, right? Is that you have that, you make your own hours. You decide, when you want to put that work in. So that's a beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, it is one of the best.
For agents that are trying to get their business up and rolling, do more business this year. Some people are struggling. You got changes that happened in August that people are still kind of getting accustomed to. What would you say, any advice for agents that are trying to boost their business this year? What should they be focusing on? What are the tactics they should be leaning into this year?
Do not expect the results for the work you did not do. That's the number one thing. You didn't do shit, you don't get shit.
That's right. That's right.
So the number one thing is what I believe in self-growth, and what I'm learning is, if you're going to get into a business like this and you really want to be successful, you have to have 2 things in mind. You have to be willing to tell the truth and hear the truth. If you're able to do that, you can grow, right? Not everyone can do that. Not everyone's built for this business, right? So you need to be able to have people in your corner that can tell you the truth about you and your business, and you have to be willing to hear the truth, and you be able to tell the truth. So important. So if you're in any type of an environment where you feel like you can't tell the truth and you feel like no one's going to tell you the truth, you're in the wrong environment. You're in the wrong environment. That's what CRG is all about. We'll tell you everything that's right and wrong with your business, right? But it's all out of love. So, and then don't, expectations are the root of all evil. So we cannot expect to be successful in real estate if we're not putting in the work. That is disrespectful to the agents that do put in the work. That is disrespectful to the business as a whole. To think that you can just go and take a little 6-week class. Let's be honest, getting a real estate license is not the most difficult thing in the world. Anybody can slap an R on their shirt, call themselves a realtor, and pay a couple dues, right? There's a lot of them out there. There's 40,000 in Arizona right now. You got your pick, right? But there's a reason that a select few do extremely well. And so, you have to work hard, and some make it look easy, but you're only seeing the results. You're not seeing the work, right? So being around other people while they work hard is important, because you can see what it takes, right? You don't just see the, closed. No. Look at everything behind all that, right? So those are the most important things to be successful as a realtor, in my opinion, is you have to be around people that really give a shit about you, right? And then you got to plug in, right? And you got to put in the work. And that's where those 2 quotes really line up. Don't expect the results for the work you did not do is one of the best quotes I've heard when it comes to real estate, because again, you do not expect the results for your work you did not do, right? So, getting business cards and a cool listing sign, not going to help. You got to do a thing. You got to put in the work, right? So that's why I just tell people, I'd say, if you're in a position, if you've made it this far, thanks for listening. And, if you are wondering about how to impact your business, right? If you don't feel like you're in an environment where you're supported properly, I've had recruiting calls with agents where I've had a 45-minute conversation. They said, Josh, I've been with my broker 9 months. I haven't heard anything that good since. The entire time, I haven't heard anyone bring up that idea in 9 months of my work. I'm like, this is just a start. This is some stuff we could talk about. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach to building a business, right? You need to have people in your corner that can say, hey, here's all your areas of opportunity. Go tap into them. So support and truth, and you'll be fine.
I love it, Josh. It's funny is if you have a truthful environment and people are speaking the truth, it's a lot less drama. You occasionally you might have somebody that's real sensitive and they have to kind of get used to it. Of course, you're not going to just lambast people. You're telling them the truth because you care about them. You deeply care about them and their family because there's a lot at stake. They're trying to create a financial income for their family. So if you don't tell people the truth, you're really harming them. And why would you want to harm someone when they're trying to make it a living for their family? So to me, I agree with you 100%. And I think it takes time to develop a culture like that, and occasionally you'll have somebody that comes in and everybody knows they're not a fit. It's just, everybody knows, right? And even they know, and that's okay, right? Yep. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So,
but it's for the majority, right?
It's for the majority. That's right. That's true. So how can people get a hold of you? And my friends, today we're talking to Joshua Riddle, one of the best agents in Arizona. How can people get a hold of you, Josh? And let them know.
Yeah, social media, right? That's the way these days. All my information's on Facebook. I believe it's J Riddle Realtor, or just search my name and look for someone wearing red. There's a good chance you'll find me wearing red. On my professional picture. Otherwise, it's a black and white of me and my sexy ass wife. And so social media is the way to find me and message me. I love talking to people. I love helping agents. I'm very passionate about real estate as a whole. I'm team realtor. I'm team realtor. I believe that if we make great realtors who provide great service to their clients, that's the most important part, then those clients will want to use us again. And won't get tricked by these big box corporate companies that want to steal their equity. So that's what we're about. Find me. Let's talk. I'm always open to having conversations. I love talking about anything real estate. Find me on Facebook. Slide into my DMs. I guess that's what they say these days. Whatever it takes, just get a hold of me. I just love having conversations. So I appreciate it, boys.
Absolutely, Josh. And I'm just glad everybody got to know all three of us today. I mean, hopefully after all of us talking here today, you got to know all of our hearts. And this is kind of how we like to run the business and treat our partners. And what a joy it's been to have everybody here today as this channel continues to grow. Chase, we hit over 200 downloads this week. That's exciting. So
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support out there. And I promised you at the beginning, we'd bring you nothing but winners. And today we had another winner with Joshua Riddle. And I hope you enjoyed hearing his story. And please reach out to us if you need anything in the great state of Arizona. So for that, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Chase. Everybody, have an awesome day.
Cheers.